Hello and welcome to World Talks here on TVP World. I'm Diana Skaya. Norway's Oslo airport has temporarily paused landings early on Monday after a report of a drone sighting near the airport, the latest in a series of aerial incursions disrupting European skies. In the last few weeks, NATO's eastern flank has faced mounting drone and hybrid threats. And joining me now to discuss the latest is Louis Wierenga, lecturer in international relations, Baltic Defence College. Louis, so glad to have you here with us on World Talks as always. Louis,
good morning, Diana. Always a pleasure.
Absolutely. Louis, take us through this latest incident. What more do we know and what's come out of this?
Well, this is just the latest in a series of hybrid attacks, and these are ongoing, and I think we can talk about potential for response in a moment. But this time, Oslo's airport was temporarily paused on Monday because there was a report of a drone sighting near the airport. And so a couple of aircraft waited in the air until the situation was clarified. There weren't any further disruptions to this air traffic, and the observation has remained unverified. But I think that there's just an increased amount of vigilance in the Nordic Baltic region because of all of the hybrid attacks, because you've seen airports close in Denmark, in Germany. There were cyber attacks, and then there was also in Lithuania, Vilnius airport announced that its airspace reopened because they closed on Sunday because there were spots of balloons flying in the airspace. So I just chalk this up to caution and vigilance based on a pattern that's happened with increased severity since last month, since September.
Can we blame Russia for this pattern, Louis? Is it safe to blame Russia? What can you tell us on that?
Well, when there's smoke, there's fire. I mean, they have been operating under plausible deniability for quite a long time, and that's why they use gray zone or hybrid incursions to test, to frighten, to threaten, and it may be that in one case at some point in time, somebody may have cited something, and because of the increased awareness and the heightened sensibility, that it may not have been, but that's their operating procedure. So I think that we have to always assume that it is. Of course, they deny it, but I think that the European response to this since September the 9th has been public, it's been unified, and it's been definitive. And like the Danish
Louis,
Prime Minister said,
I have to interrupt you there. I mean, you're saying that it's been unified, it's been definitive, but has it been a swift and a very good response, or could have it been, much better? Do you think that NATO and Europe were prepared for any of this? Like you just said, also, I cut you off there, but you said since September 9th, and also I want you to tell me about the timing. Why is all of this happening right now, since September 9th, and then the drones also that got into Polish airspace right on September 10. I mean, how ready is Europe and NATO to fight off all these, to shoot down all these drones?
Well, I think the issue is always time. I mean, timing always needs to be quicker when you have a consensus-based multilateral alliance like NATO. There are principles and procedures, but I think that we are, as an alliance, learning how to operate more quickly with the time that we have. And I think that this is one of the issues about how to go about this so-called drone wall. If 2027 or 2030 is the date where we need to be completely ready. Well, we have to be ready like weeks ago or now, not then. But of course, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't be trying to continue to bolster the eastern flank. So I think that there should be more of a broader range of packages, because, for example, with drones, defense systems in the region have typically been ready for ballistic missiles or hypersonics or aircraft missiles or cruise missiles. That's what NATO's air defense has been traditionally pitted to respond to, but not drones specifically. So there are a lot of different things that we could do. For example, leaning away from counter drones countering drones with expensive defense systems, but looking at using EW, electronic warfare, to jam, to spoof, to disrupt electronic systems or signals that drones operate on, while also putting together a very comprehensive and hard-hitting sanctions package that's been the most robust and some since the beginning of sanctions package, to really start looking at the collective picture, bringing in LNG, talking to the Trump White House, because the U.S. is the largest exporters of LNG, really trying to put something in that cripples the means for them. Because it's like what the French President Emmanuel Macron said when French authorities boarded the Shadow Fleet, the suspected Shadow Fleet ship a week or so ago. He said that, disrupting them, making it make their business take time, or completely disrupting it, it's basically what you have to do. Use the economic package along with military preparedness. So to get to the second aspect of the question about the response, I think that there is this new sense of urgency, and I think that when European leaders meet right now, they understand that there needs to be action very, very soon and very, very quickly. And I think we're headed into the right direction, because right now, and this was a really good sign last week in Copenhagen from Ukrainian President Zelensky. He said, hey, we are willing to help, and we are helping in Denmark with drone operators, showing what lessons we've learned from the Russians in using drones and incorporating them to the modern battlefield.
Louis, let me shift you a little bit and ask you about general public perception. I mean, this is, one thing. It's one thing discussing about government preparedness, but how do you think that governments can keep people informed without actually causing so much panic and chaos? I mean, after September 10, after the Russian drones violated Polish airspace, suddenly there was panic around Poland, across Poland, because there were signs of pack an emergency bag and pack an emergency backpack, what to keep, what food to buy. What do you think? I mean, this is actually quite common for people who live in the Middle East, let's say particularly Israel, Lebanon, and so forth. But what about Europe, Louis?
Well, that's the thing. This is now the new reality. It's not something that we are used to, but it's something that people in other regions of the world have been used to, even during our collective West transatlantic holiday from history. Other people around the globe have been used to this. So we are understanding how the world is. I think the public is understanding how the world is changing. And I think that there's a real fine line between making sure that populations are informed, especially if you're a country on the eastern flank where there's a whole of society, whole of government approach. It's not like that possibility has been far removed, that's appearing out of the blue. It's just that the security environment is as it is right now. So I think that maintaining a level of transparency, critical thinking, media literacy, for example, in Estonia, that's taught early on to youngsters, and really sending the message to keep calm, be prepared, and really highlighting the severity of the threat. So, of course, if it does get more severe, the worse it gets. Arguably, the more panic there would be potentially in a society. But I think that right now we've had just about a month. We're like 2 days shy of a month from when the really nasty air incursions started happening very frequently. And I think part of that part of it, I think, is just to keep focus away from Ukraine. Countries that really support and back Ukraine. I think it's trying to shift focus. But I also think that it's a reminder that the Russian Federation is prepared to and can do some very nasty things shy of the kinetic threshold. And so, eventually that's going to, wear off. I mean, people are going to be used to it. It's not that they're not going to be frightened or that there might not be a large degree of panic amongst the general populace, but then it's something that people are now used to, as unfortunate as that is.
What about European countries in terms of coordinating when drones enter their airspace? Has anything evolved since the past month, since the first sightings?
Well, of course, now it's something that several countries now know. So I think that there's certainly communication that's improved, but I think that the big sort of focus right now is on the so-called drone wall, which won't be a physical wall. It'll be a layered network of detection and interception systems, and that will build on individual EU member states' capabilities when it comes to anti-drones. So it's who does what best, and how can that be incorporated into something that is really an inception and a detection systems rather than a physical wall. So that is the positive aspect of this. But of course, last week in Copenhagen, the main takeaway was that not enough people were ready for that to be housed under the commission. But that doesn't mean that can be a joint collective initiative, because everybody that is facing these airspace incursions and violations, they understand that they do face a common threat.
Well, that was exactly my question to you. I mean, why wouldn't countries? I mean, at this point, we've been, I mean, just like you said, right? We have been seeing this. It's going to be a month, right? Like in 2 days. So why wouldn't certain European countries, be ready to invest in this and in its protection of the airspace?
Well, I think that they will. I mean, after the EU summit, the Danish Prime Minister made the point very, very clearly that Europe needs to strengthen drone production, anti-drone capabilities, and that it should be a European network of anti-drone measures should be built up that can protect and neutralize intrusion from the outside. So she also said that the EU should be able to defend totally by 2030, but it needs to be immediately. It needs to be immediately. And you asked earlier, why now? Well, I think that the unfortunate aspect of why now is that there is a small window, because the path that Europe is going now, they will be ready. Europe will be ready by then. There's going to be a lot of investment. It's not if we spend, but it's how we spend and how we allocate. And nothing motivates more than an actual acute threat from a state power who's willing to do all kinds of atrocities on the battlefield in Ukraine and threaten over years in more incremental ways European countries and their sovereign airspace and potentially more cyberspace as well. So, and the other added addition to that is in the information space, because there's the U.S. Priorities, which I think have now firmly shifted back to Europe, because the White House understands the severity of the situation. And so I think what Russia was trying to do was an attempt to somehow exploit a disconnect between where Europe's security needs were and where the U.S. wanted to be, which ended up backfiring, because now I think NATO is more united than ever.
Thank you so much, Louis Wierenga, lecturer in international relations at the Baltic Defence College, for such an informative discussion. Thanks for being with us, Louis.
Always a pleasure, Diana. Thank you.
And that's all for this edition of World Talks here on TVP World. I'm Diana Skye. Thanks for watching.